Part 28. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womang. Chapter 271. If you enter a place like this rashly, even if you are in the dragon transformation realm or even the immortality realm, you will be seriously injured, right? After all, not to mention the thick thunder and lightning that filled the air, the thunder continued and struck people, and they would probably end up seriously injured or dead. At this moment, however, Wan Qing walked up to the crowd and said in a deep voice, "I will protect you with my cultivation. Just follow me and be careful not to stay too far away from me." "Say it." Wan Qing made a secret to cast the spell, and in an instant, a shield emitting a faint purple light enveloped everyone. "Let's go." Wan Qing turned around and whispered to everyone, and then took the lead to step in. "See this?" Qin Benjiao and others did not hesitate and followed Wan Qing into the thunder. While walking in the minefield, thunder and lightning would fall from time to time, striking the shield and causing ripples. It looked so thrilling that one couldn't help but tremble. Even if there is a shield for protection, the thunder and lightning in the air cannot be completely isolated. Therefore, Qin Benjiao and others all feel that crisp and numb touch that surrounds them all the time, making their hair stand on end. Wan Qing led the way. Even though she had superb cultivation, she had to be careful every step she took. She had to consider the place to stay before she could move forward. Therefore, the progress of everyone's walking was not very fast. After a long time, everyone found the entrance to the secret realm they were about to enter, and they all breathed a sigh of relief. Turning his head to look, there was still lightning and thunder behind him, but the place where he was standing now was extremely clean because of this secret realm, and thunder and lightning would never disturb him. If you think about this minefield carefully, with Wan Qing's protection, although it is extremely dangerous, walking through it is actually very easy. After sizing up the entrance to the secret realm, Wan Qing said in a deep voice, "This should be it. Come on, let's go in." Immediately. Then he turned his head and looked at the people behind him. "After entering, you should follow me. Don't get separated. We don't know the situation inside. If you are far away and encounter any danger, I won't be able to do it in time. Come to the rescue." "Good." The girls, including Sul Yang, all nodded. Walking into the entrance of the secret realm, walking into the secret realm for a long time, however, there was still an endless cave scene ahead. "Are we going in the wrong direction?" Yang Kaoj couldn't help but say. "Probably not." Qin Wanyu touched her chin and thought, "If we walk a little further, we should be able to find some clues." And the words just fell. Just after everyone passed through a circular door. In front of everyone, there was a broken bridge and an empty abyss, cutting off the road to the next door. "No way." Tan Kinja raised her eyebrows and walked to the edge of the cliff to take a look. She saw that it was bottomless, dark, and empty below. Then she jumped again and frowned. "This place seems to limit some of our abilities. My true energy is running very sluggishly now, let alone flying with my sword, even jumping is a little difficult." And this time. Volume 1 Chapter 248, When all the way, the holy relic is hidden. Qin Benjiao stood in front of a square stone and shouted, "Master, Sister Wan Qing, look, this thing seems to be a mechanism." After hearing this, Wan Qing immediately stepped forward and saw a bulge emerging on the square stone. After thinking for a moment, Wan Qing pressed it directly. Moment. Boom. There was a feeling of the ground shaking, and then, on the abyss of the broken bridge, several stone slabs suddenly appeared. The stone slabs were not connected to each other, and there were huge gaps between them. It seemed that they were meant to be stepped on. "Jump over." Can be followed immediately. The stone slab suddenly moved and completely changed its original position. At the moment when the stone slab was fixed, a faint light flashed through, and many identical stone slabs suddenly appeared in the disconnected parts of the stone slabs. Stone slabs are densely packed, covering the abyss of broken bridges, forming a road. The next moment, the stone slabs that appeared later suddenly disappeared for a moment, and then appeared again. The whole process was so short that it almost made people wonder if they had seen it wrong. Is this the mechanism here? Suliang saw something and walked closer. Those disappearing stone slabs are all false. As long as you step on them, they will collapse. If we want to pass, we must step on the right stone every step. Once we take the wrong step, we will fall into the abyss. Hearing Suliang's words, Qin Binjao looked confused, but the stone slab just disappeared for a moment. How can we see clearly which one is real? I think the person who designed this mechanism didn't intend for us to pass smoothly, right? What Qin Binjao said was somewhat depressing, but even Wan Qing, Tan Qinja, and others nodded in agreement, indicating that they fully recognized Qin Binjao's words. With their dynamic vision, it was actually very simple to see clearly the disappearance and appearance of the stone slab. But before Suliang said this, none of them could realize the significance of the change in the stone slab. Naturally, no one can remember. Furthermore, there are too many stone slabs. There are countless stone slabs on the long and narrow abyss bridge. It is extremely difficult to remember them all in that short moment. I am afraid that only a very few people can completely remember that moment. So what should I do now? Tan Qinja frowned and said, it's about Liang's life and death. We must go to the other side of the abyss. If no one among us can remember all the slates, then even if we have to use our lives to try and make mistakes, we must pass. Sister, don't sound so pessimistic. Suliang shook his head, there should be other ways. For Suliang, if there is really no other way to pass, then he might as well go back home directly. He will not let his woman use her life to find a way out for herself. If you can't fight, you'll find other ways. Anyway, there are still 3 years, which is still enough. And just when everyone is at a loss, Yang Kaoch suddenly stood up and said, let me do it. The moment the stone slab disappeared, I had already memorized the correct route. Thinking about it, it should be right. Chao Ji, don't force it. Are you sure? Listening to Yang Kaoch's words, Suliang subconsciously frowned and asked with concern. Don't worry, Mr. Lang. I still want to spend the rest of my life with Mr. Lang. How could I do those uncontrollable things and let myself die here? Yang Kaoch smiled softly at Suliang, and then, regardless of everyone's dissuasion or approval, he directly moved his slender legs and stepped on the stone slab in front of him. Click. There was a crisp sound of footsteps, and the stone slab was stable without even the slightest shake. Call. Yang Kaoch breathed a sigh of relief, then turned around and said to Suliang and others, follow me and leave quickly. Say it. Yang Kaoch didn't pause at all, and stepped on new stone slabs one after another. Soon, he actually led everyone to the opposite side. Standing on the solid ground and turning their heads to look at the slowly disappearing stone slabs behind them, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. As expected of Sister Ying, she is indeed amazing. Qin Binjao couldn't help but praise, in such a short moment, Sister Ying was able to remember the correct route. I can't compare to this insight. Yang Kaoch smiled and said, it's just a little trick. If it can help, it would be great. Okay, let's go quickly, time waits for no one. After walking forward for a while, a mirror appeared in front of everyone. This mirror. Suliang looked at this huge mirror and was a little confused. In such a serious place, there is such a mirror, and it doesn't look right no matter how you look at it. I do have some clues. Qin Wanyu thought for a while and said, according to legend, there is a kind of mirror that allows people to see another self. Only the person who looks in the mirror and reaches an agreement with the other self can pass the test safely. If not, I'm afraid, you will be invaded by another self and completely become another person. After hearing this, everyone was stunned. They didn't doubt Qin Huanyu's words, but they just felt that the effect of this mirror was too weird, right? Coming to terms with another self? Who knows what the other self is thinking? And this time. But Qin Benjao stood up, put her hands on her hips and said, "It's my turn to take action." Having said that, before Suliang and others could stop her, Qin Benjao stood directly in front of the mirror. Moment. On the mirror, a beautiful face exactly like Qin Benjao's appeared. Only. What surprised Suliang and others was that the person in the mirror looked as cute as Qin Benjao in reality. Don't you feel aggrieved by personally pushing your husband out and sharing it with her? Qin Benjao in the mirror suddenly asked. Hearing this, Qin Benjao said without thinking, "No, as long as Sulang can be happy, it will be fine. Besides, whether it is Winning's sister or the Queen Mother, they can be Sulang's help. I can not only make Sulang happy, but also help Sulang find powerful helpers. What do I have to feel wronged about?" As soon as these words came out, Qin Benjao in the mirror was obviously stunned for a moment, and then she showed a relieved smile. "I see." Qin Benjao in the mirror smiled with relief, and then slowly disappeared. Hiss. Seeing this, everyone gasped again. Looking at Qin Benjao's appearance in the mirror, has Qin Benjao reached a reconciliation with herself? So fast? Moreover, looking at Qin Benjao's face in the mirror, she is also full of cuteness and silly feeling, and she is full of her own man. This mirror even replicates the personality. Wow, this is a bit too scary, isn't it? In short, Qin Benjao in the mirror disappeared, and the mirror slowly disappeared, revealing the passage behind it. They had passed this level. Stepping into the passage, what appeared in front of everyone were two forked roads with completely different directions. Standing at the fork in the road, everyone in Suliang began to think seriously. For a moment, they didn't know which way to take. At this moment, Qin Huanyu said, "Why don't we try taking the right side?" After hearing this, everyone was stunned. Wan Qing took a deep look at Qin Huanyu, then nodded and said, "Okay, let's go to the right." In fact, when exploring the Wuxiang Gorge, Qin Huanyu had guided everyone to the right route more than once. She has never been here before. The reason why she knows the correct route accurately is because Qin Huanyu relied on the information provided by Dong Jun and deduced. Moving forward, everyone soon arrived at the deepest part of Wuxiang Gorge. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 272. Suliang still felt a little confused until he stood in front of the door that represented the secret treasure. I recalled my experiences along the way. When I came in, I was protected by my master, the slate was cracked by Kaoj, the mirror was cracked by Benjao, and when I encountered a fork in the road, I was gracefully guided. It seems that I really won the whole process. Suliang patted his head, which was still confused, and felt a little emotional. Is this the benefit of having many helpful wives? This should be about the abyss and the mark on Suliang. Wan Qing walked to the door that shone slightly, took a deep breath, and put her palm on the door. I hope that the things inside can really solve the mark on Liang. It's definitely no problem. Qin Benjao said firmly, not sure if she was comforting herself. Immediately, Wan Qing no longer hesitated and pushed the door open. But at this moment, boom! A huge thunder suddenly fell from the sky, struck down, and landed right in front of everyone. Is there any mechanism in this room? Yang Kaoj immediately frowned, feeling a little bored in his heart. I'm still in a hurry to save my husband. I don't have time to make trouble with you here, okay? What are you doing by setting up so many traps? However, Qin Huanyu shook her head, there should be no mechanism inside. In this situation, maybe it was the thing inside that caused the movement. She didn't say this because she wanted to confront Yang Kaoch. She just learned from the information Dong Jun left behind that there was no mechanism inside. No matter what it is, you'll know once you go in and take a look. Suliang said and strode in. All the way to here, his wives were leading the way, but he was hiding behind. Now this was the last place. Suliang felt that he couldn't continue to hide behind his ladies, right? Seeing that Suliang had already walked forward and entered the gate, Wan Qing and others stopped talking and followed them one after another. But when everyone stepped inside, they were immediately surprised by the scene inside. I saw. In the huge stone room, a square high platform was built high, and on the high platform, on the sword body, a long sword engraved with thunder patterns was standing there. The long sword was surrounded by golden thunder, which seemed to contain some strange power. Just standing at the door, Suliang felt a sense of relief, as if the negative effects of the brand on him had been suppressed. Look, there is a stone tablet under the stone platform. Just as everyone was fascinated by the long sword, Qin Wanyu suddenly pointed under the stone platform and said. After everyone heard this, they all looked under the stone platform. Sure enough, a small stone tablet was standing there. Let's go over and have a look. As Suliang said, he led everyone towards the stone tablet. Coming to the stone tablet, touching the words on it, Wan Qing read softly, the name of the sword is Reizo, a demon-killing holy object. It has the effect of restraining evil objects in the abyss. After reading this, Wan Qing couldn't help but look at Suliang. The brand on your body was left by the creatures of the abyss. I think the holy sword Reizo should be able to help you wash away the negative effects of the brand on your body. In other words, I want to get that Reizo. Suliang raised his eyebrows and then nodded. Okay, Benjao, sister, please wait for me here for a while. I will come back after I get Lei Zhang and wash my body. Say it. Before Wan Qing and others could say anything, Suliang jumped up, stepped on the stone platform, and instantly jumped up, landing firmly in front of Lei Zhang. It is indeed a holy sword. Seeing Lei Zhang's sword surrounded by thunder, Suliang couldn't help but stretched out his hand. The thunder on it slowly wrapped around Suliang's hand, which actually made him feel that the brand on his body was weakened. It seems that the idea of erasing the mark on oneself with the help of this Reizo is feasible. Then, Suliang reached forward decisively, wanting to hold the holy sword. But before his hand touched the hilt of the sword, buzz. With a buzzing sound, Lei Zhang was trembling, and then the entire sword flew up, followed closely by the golden thunder wrapped around him, stabbing towards Suliang. Is the holy sword spiritual? Suliang raised his eyebrows. This was the first time he saw a spiritual sword that would actively attack those who wanted to surrender it. Of course, there is actually another holy object in his body that can act independently, which is the Kingdi Eternal Life Cauldron. Suliang has already seen the power of the Kingdi Eternal Life Cauldron. In this case, he cannot let go of this sword. Then, Suliang immediately pinched his sword fingers, used his sword energy, and clashed with the holy relic Reizo. The reason why Suliang did not draw out the long sword from his waist was because he knew that under the suppression of such holy objects, any long sword would lose its edge and break after a few chops, so it was better not to use it. Then, in an instant, the sword energy was vertical and horizontal in the sky, the thunder was flashing, and the sword in tension with the aura of no regrets, constantly collided with the golden thunder, unexpectedly erupting with extremely powerful fluctuations. If it weren't for the extremely hard material the stone chamber was made of, it would have collapsed by now. And with the confrontation between one person and one sword, Suliang could feel that the golden thunder was constantly merging in his body. The holy sword Lei Zhang continued to absorb Suliang's sword intent. It kept buzzing and exuded the sound of ferocious swords. It seemed that he was faintly interacting with Suliang. Good resonance. Just a moment. Buzz. There was a buzzing sound from Lei Zhang, and the light shined brightly, but it stopped directly in mid-air. See this. Volume 1 # Chapter 249 Short-Term Memory Review, New Beach Party. Suliang stepped forward, stretched out his hand, and grabbed Reizo in his hand. Immediately afterwards, the true energy in his body surged out and merged into the sword body. In just an instant, such a sacred object was taken by Su. Liang suppressed it. Landing on the ground and feeling the gentleness of Reizo in his hands, Suliang couldn't help but smile. Such a sacred object is mine. He could feel that the energy in the sacred object in his hand at this moment allowed him to move it at will, as smoothly as his arms and fingers. Then, without hesitation, Suliang mobilized the energy in the holy object and poured it into his body. With the power of thunder, he washed his body and dispelled the brand. Zi. There was a flashing sound of thunder and lightning, and Suliang's whole body was immediately occupied by thunder. At the same time, with the movement of thunder, the evil energy lingering on the brand in Suliang's body affected his whole body. Actually began to be gradually purified. Just a moment. The evil spirit disappeared completely, and the mark lingering on Suliang's body gradually faded, and soon disappeared without a trace. And just when Suliang thought everything was over, a sudden wave of chaotic memories flooded into his mind. In memory, a royal sister with a somewhat similar face to the queen was standing in front of Suliang, waving towards Suliang. But compared to the queen, the person in his memory was gentler and more elegant, without any of the charm or tyranny that the queen brought to Suliang that day. The memory flashed away, just a brief flashback. Soon, Suliang woke up and saw his wives for the first time. "Suliang, are you okay?" Qin Benjiao asked with concern. Although the others did not speak, their eyes looking at Suliang were also full of concern. "Fine." Suliang shook his head, but didn't pay much attention to the scene in his memory. After Wuxiang Gorge, at the entrance of a cave, several figures slowly walked out of it. Finally came out. Suliang stood at the entrance of the cave, looking at the scorching sun in the sky, and sighed slightly. Behind Suliang, Qin Benjiao, Tan Qinjia, Wan Qing, Ying Kaoch, and Qin Wanyu stood together, feeling a little dusty and embarrassed, all looking slightly sighing. Just before, after Suliang completely suppressed Lei Zhang, the cave where Lei Zhang was hidden suddenly began to shake, and then everything began to collapse. The first thing to collapse was the entrance when they entered. At this time, Suliang and others had no chance of returning the same way, so they had no choice but to quickly find a place that looked like a door that was exposed when the stone chamber collapsed, and fled there in embarrassment. It stands to reason that given that Suliang and others were at the dragon transformation realm at their weakest level, a collapse of a mere cave should not hurt them. But I don't know what kind of material the stone chamber was made of. The inside was extremely hard and difficult to break. If they were buried inside, it would be difficult for them to come out again. In this case, what else can you do if you don't run? Walking forward and coming to her man's side, Qin Benjiao lay on her body, pouted, and muttered, "Suliang, let's go back quickly. The collapse of the cave just now made my body full of dust. Now I'm very tired, I want to take a bath. I think if we take a shower, we might not need to go back." As Suliang spoke, he stretched out his hand, pointed to the area behind Wuxiang Gorge in front of everyone, and said, "It seems to be a beach coast there. If you want to take a bath, can you do it here?" After hearing this, not only Qin Benjiao, but also Tan Qinjia and others came forward and took a look at where Suliang's finger was pointing. "Really? See a beautiful beach?" "I saw. After Wuxiang Gorge, under the steep cliffs, there is a coast that rises and falls. The sea water rises and recedes, revealing golden sandy beaches, carrying shellfish that can only be seen in the sea. The entire beach stretches for several miles, with no end as far as the eye can see. Between the rise and fall of the waves, the golden sand is soft and delicate, shining under the sun. It looks extremely attractive, and it immediately makes Jean Benjeo and others excited. Master, sisters, let's go to the beach to play together. Jean Benjeo pointed to the beach and said excitedly. But Tan Kinja hesitated for a moment. When we came out for this trip, we didn't bring any swimsuits at all. Is it possible that we have to wear our own clothes in the water? After hearing this, everyone was silent for a moment. After a while, Yang Kaoj tried to say, how about we rush to the surrounding towns as soon as possible, buy swimsuits, and then come back? But no one echoed her words. Wuxiang Gorge is originally a secluded and uninhabited place. If you want to find a nearby town, you don't know how far you have to go. Forget it, let's hurry back. Suliang shook his head and said, to be honest, playing on the beach with his girlfriends is indeed exciting, but is it too exciting? If you think about it carefully, your 4 girlfriends and your master are all here. If they were to swarm you, even your Hunyuan Chunyang Dao body might not be able to withstand it. But right now, it has been detected that the host is currently in an easy-to-defeat environment. The system can provide the host with various swimsuits for the host to choose from. Hearing this, Suliang was immediately speechless. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 273. You stupid system, I was branded by the Queen of the Abyss, and you didn't say a word when I had 3 months to live at most. But now, you are so conscious and proactive? When it comes to dogs, I have to talk about you, the system. I, Suliang, am so impressed that I have nothing to say. Since the system kindly provided swimsuits, and looking at the eager looks of his girlfriends and master, Suliang really couldn't ignore it, so he said, let's go and have some fun. You don't have to worry about the swimsuits. I can get it. Real. Jean Benjeo and others' eyes were shining, and they glanced at Suliang excitedly. Without doubting the authenticity of Suliang's words, they all flew down from the cliff and landed on the beach. Seeing his girlfriend's happy look, Suliang couldn't help but smile, and also jumped down and followed her. Forget it, as long as my girlfriend can be happy, it's okay to be a little tired. When Suliang came to the beach, Jean Benjeo and others had already taken off their shoes and socks, and stepped into the water with their bare, soft, and white feet, holding up the hem of their long skirts. Wow! Jean Benjeo happily jumped up and down in the sea water, turned around and waved to Suliang, Sulang, come down quickly, it's so comfortable in there. You are anxious. Suliang shook his head and laughed, after you change into your swimsuit, let's go in. You are like this now. Let's see what you will do when your clothes get wet. It will dry soon anyway. Jean Benjeo shook her head nonchalantly, but obediently walked out of the water, came to Suliang, stretched out her soft white catkin. Sulang, hurry up, swimsuit. After hearing this, several other people also gathered around and looked at Suliang expectantly. Okay. Suliang nodded repeatedly, and after careful consideration, he took out 5 swimsuits and handed them to everyone. After Wan Qing used some magic to temporarily hide several people, there was another rustling sound, and the girls finally changed into their swimsuits and appeared in front of Suliang. Jean Benjeo wears a high school-style swimsuit with a white background and sky blue patterns embroidered on it. It is said to be a swimsuit, but it looks more like a short top, covering the growing pride. People peek. The white triangle on her lower body is embroidered with a small sky blue skirt. This swimsuit makes Jean Benjeo look pure, cute, and youthful. Tan Kinja, on the other hand, was wearing a red swimsuit. The upper body of the swimsuit tightly wrapped a pair of proud peaks, but there were two straps extending to the back, connected to the lower body, tied together, and tied together behind the back. If it is untied behind the back, the upper and lower pieces may fall together. Wearing this swimsuit on her body, it can be said that her charming feeling is fully displayed. Wan Qing was wearing a black one-piece swimsuit, but there were two V-shaped necklines on the front and back, extending all the way to her waist, which exposed almost all of her except for her proud peak. It looked just right in line with her charm and charm. The temperament of holiness coexisting. Ying Caoj, like Tan Kinja, is both wearing a red swimsuit, but Ying Caoj's upper body is wrapped in a proud peak, and the shoulder strap connecting her shoulders is only one on the left. Outside of the triangle pose, a hazy gauze shrouds the body. Although it blocks a lot of beautiful scenery, it adds a sense of mystery. Coupled with the complicated and luxurious patterns on the swimsuit, it perfectly displays Ying Caoj's cold, arrogant, elegant, yet girlish and pure feeling. Next to Ying Caoj, Qin Wanyu was wearing a charming purple swimsuit. Her upper body was ordinary, but her lower body had a strip of decoration extending from her waist, obliquely covering her vital parts, perfectly showing her charming, graceful, yet mysterious temperament. Looking at the women wearing various swimsuits with different postures, but each with their own merits, Suliang couldn't help but swallow, feeling very uncomfortable. This is really beautiful. Chapter 382. This is very cultivating. Sulang, hurry up, we're going down first. After Qin Benjao changed into her swimsuit, she threw herself into the sea without saying a word. This girl. Tan Kinja shook her head and laughed. She came closer to Suliang and kissed Suliang lightly on the lips. Her eyes were as charming as silk and she said, Ailiang, please hurry up. My sister is waiting for you. Say it. He also followed his apprentice and jumped into the water. Seeing the two of them looking like this, Suliang showed a warm smile, turned his head, found a deserted place, changed into his swimsuit, and followed his girlfriend and others down. But at this moment, Qin Benjao's slightly surprised and novel voice suddenly sounded, Hey, Sulang, look, I'm floating. When Suliang heard this, he turned his head and looked around, and sure enough he saw his girlfriend's delicate body floating gently on the water, as if there was no weight, drifting with the water waves. This floating state can be achieved with just force. The sea water here doesn't sink. It's quite magical. Suliang touched his chin with an interested expression. At this moment, Wan Qing came to Suliang and said with a smile, Why, dear disciple, is this your first time seeing such magical sea water? Although it is indeed the first time, the principle of unsinkable sea water is quite simple, and it is not magical. Suliang shook his head and planned to show off his scientific knowledge. Generally speaking, the buoyancy of water makes it difficult to support the human body and prevent it from sinking. However, there is a kind of water that contains multiple minerals. The substance is extremely salty and has a large specific gravity, which makes the density of water even greater than that of the human body. In such water, people will naturally not sink. They can float up naturally even without using any force. The sea water on this beach should be like this, right? However, when Suliang's words came out, Wan Qing looked at Suliang with a very strange look. What the hell are you talking about? What density, what specific gravity, it all goes nowhere. Based on Wan Qing's current knowledge, she could vaguely tell that what Suliang said might be true. But what he said has nothing to do with the sea water, okay. Then Wan Qing chuckled lightly, not caring that she was slapping Suliang in the face, and began to explain, this is what you said. Let me tell you, master, the reason why Benjao can float in the sea water is actually because there is abundant spiritual energy in it. When you are in it, the spiritual energy activates the true energy in your body, which makes people float up on their own. Hearing this, Suliang couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth and became speechless. Co-author, I just analyzed and explained everything, but it was all wrong. Why is there abundant spiritual energy in the sea water, and why is the true energy floating up on its own? This is very unscientific. Yes, it is very unscientific, but very spiritual. Speechless and holding his forehead, Suliang realized one thing. This world has the super mysterious power of cultivating immortals. Everything here cannot be copied by rote using his previous knowledge. Otherwise, it would be easy to be embarrassed. And this time, the arrival of Ying Keoj and Qin Wanyu broke Suliang's embarrassment. Mr. Lang, let's go play in the water. Say it. Without waiting for Suliang's consent, Ying Keoj and Qin Wanyu broke out into an unparalleled tacit understanding. After holding Suliang one on the left and the other on the right, they carried Suliang and ran quickly to the seaside. Next. Thump. With the sound of a heavy object falling into the water, Suliang was thrown into the water decisively by the two of them, and Qin Benjao and Tan Kinja, who were floating on the water and basking in the sun, were thrown into the water at the same time. Puff. Suliang quickly got out of the water, spit out the mouthful of water he drank, helped his girlfriend and sister up, and asked with concern, Benjao, sister, are you okay? How can it be okay? Qin Benjao pouted, looking angrily, looking at the proud Ying Keoj and Qin Wanyu. Master, Suliang, hurry up, we have to fight back, we can't let Sister Ying and the Queen Mother be proud for too long. Say it. Qin Benjao picked up a handful of water and threw it on Qin Wanyu and Ying Keoj. Ah! The two of them screamed, turned their heads and glared at Qin Benjao. Ying Keoj hummed twice and said rather unconvinced, okay, Benjao, how dare you fight back against your sister? Watch your moves. As soon as he finished speaking, Ying Keoj and Qin Wanyu, like Qin Benjao, all picked up a handful of water and threw it on Qin Benjao. The attack range of the two men was extremely large, and even Suliang and Tan Kinja were not spared. At this time, even Tan Kinja joined the battle and fought against Ying Keoj and Qin Wanyu together with his apprentice. See this. Even Wan Qing on the shore chuckled and joined the battle. But gradually. But all the girls worked together and poured water on Suliang. Soon, Suliang's entire body was soaked from top to bottom. After some fighting, Suliang went ashore and lay on the beach, basking in the sun, feeling the warmth on his body, and let out a sigh of relief. The brand was erased, and the big mountain that was weighing on his heart disappeared. It felt good to just have a good rest and play like this. And just then, Wan Qing sat next to Suliang, caressing Suliang's chest. My dear disciple, do you want to put some sunscreen on, master? My master carries a very magical ointment. As long as it is applied on the body, it can resist the sun exposure. Suliang raised his eyebrows. Isn't this just sunscreen? No way, my master actually made this thing? Suliang sat up, nodded, and said, okay. Hearing this, Wan Qing smiled softly, stretched out her hands to untie her swimsuit, and lay down on the beach. At this time, whether it was her fair and beautiful back, plump and slender legs, or the plump part of her back, they were all displayed in front of Suliang's eyes. Good disciple, hurry up. Wan Qing twisted her body and said, with a seductive shyness and charm in her voice. Good. Suliang nodded, swallowed hard, applied the ointment on his hands, and then touched his master's delicate body. Moment. That kind of smoothness like jade, but soft and elastic that is completely different from beautiful jade, filled Suliang's fingertips. Coupled with the sticky feel of this nameless ointment. Hiss. Suliang took a breath of air and felt that he could no longer restrain his hands. After smearing the entire fair and beautiful back, Suliang's hands went all the way down, and soon past the plump and erect figure behind him. Subconsciously, feeling the softness and elasticity of the waves in his hands, Suliang squeezed it with both hands. Tisk tisk, this feel is not bad at all compared to my sister's graceful touch. All I can say is that he is worthy of being a master. Well. Wan Qing snorted, turned her head, and glared at Suliang with a charming look, but said nothing. I'm so shy, but, I'm master, so I'm very happy. Master, please continue. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 274. In the afternoon, after Suliang and others played around for a long time, they all felt a little hungry and finally stopped. But after all, the main purpose of everyone's trip was to solve the imprint issue for Suliang. The discovery and play on this beach were all unexpected. Volume 1 Chapter 250 I dare to take advantage of my men in the dance, do you dare? Therefore, no one prepared anything to eat at all. Then, after Suliang went into the water and caught a few live fish, everyone started to light a bonfire and start a barbecue party. Suliang, are you okay? Qin Benjao looked at the grilled fish in Suliang's hand expectantly and said impatiently. No problem. Suliang looked at the state of the grilled fish and handed it to his girlfriend with a smile. He picked up a giant lobster with his backhand and put it on the bonfire to grill. Although we don't have seasoning, which makes these barbecues less flavorful, it also happens to be able to grill out the most authentic taste of these fish and shrimps, so it should taste pretty good, right? As he spoke, Suliang turned the shrimp in his hand and felt a little emotional. It is indeed a world of immortality. In a sea of water with abundant spiritual energy, you can find unexpected gains. For example, the shrimp in Suliang's hand is more than 1 meter long. The meat is extremely tender, firm and elastic, and the quality is not enough to describe the beauty of this shrimp. This shrimp alone is not something ordinary people can catch. Just when Suliang was sighing, Qin Benjao had already stuffed the fish in her hand into her mouth. After taking a bite, she felt the fresh and tender fish meat in her mouth. The juice filled her mouth and burst out with the ultimate delicious taste. Qin Benjao's eyes were filled with excitement. Shine. Good times. Qin Benjao's mouth was full of fish meat and she was speechless. However, she still gave her man a thumbs up and looked appreciative. Is it really delicious? Tan Qingjia's eyes shone with a strange light, and she moved closer to Suliang. Tan Qingjia opened her mouth slightly. Yang, I want you to feed others. Okay, feed my sister. Suliang nodded and picked up the shrimp in his hand. Seeing that the outermost layer of the shrimp meat was roasted, he tore off a piece and stuffed it into his sister's mouth. However, Tan Qingjia did not swallow the shrimp meat directly. Instead, she bit it in her mouth and moved closer to Suliang. This meaning was self-evident. See this. Suliang smiled, but did not reject his sister's idea, so he spoke decisively and bit the other end of the shrimp meat. The two looked at each other and smiled, and began to swallow in unison. Soon, the short shrimp meat disappeared, and their lips touched together. After a moment, their lips parted. Tan Qingjia subconsciously licked her red lips, showing a charming smile. Sure enough, it tastes very good. And this time. However, Qin Wanyu snatched the grilled fish that Ying Kaoj wanted to give to Suliang from one of the Ying Chao singers on the side, and gently brought it to Suliang's mouth. Come, husband, try my handiwork, how do you feel? Suliang naturally didn't see the scene, and without doubting his presence, he took a bite of the grilled fish handed over by Qin Wanyu. Immediately afterwards, Suliang's expression was a little subtle. After swallowing hard, he gave a thumbs up and showed a healthy smile. Not bad, it's delicious. But looking at his face, there is nothing delicious about it. Seeing this, Ying Kaoj breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, I didn't hand it in personally. Let the queen mother do this kind of thing of losing points in front of her husband. But, even so, the queen mother actually robbed her own things, took them as her own, and gave them to her husband. This was something she could never accept, and she must take revenge. Then, seeing that Qin Wanyu was a little frustrated, Ying Kaoj smiled and deliberately stretched out her beautiful black stockings wrapped in black stockings in front of Qin Wanyu. She stroked the smooth black stockings with both hands and showed off, "Queen Mother, look at these black stockings, does it look good?" It was given by Lang Jun at that time. Lang Jun put it on for others himself. "How about it, you don't have this thing, do you?" "Hee, let you, an old woman, snatch my things and see if I don't envy you to death." "Hee, if you don't have something given by Lang Jun, I'll ask you if you're angry." And what Ying Kaoj said directly gave Qin Wanyu a fatal blow. Clenching her little fist slightly, holding back the envy in her heart, Qin Wanyu glared at Ying Kaoj, then turned her head and looked at Sul Yang, with a gentle look on her face, her whole body leaning on Sul Yang, her little hands on Sul Yang's body. Liang's body wandered back and forth, teasing, "Husband, you already gave Kaoj silk stockings. You don't even know if you want to give someone a pair. If you want something, others just want it. Husband, you can't favor one thing over another." Okay, this is my mistake, I will give it to you now." Sul Yang coughed slightly in embarrassment and quickly took out a pair of black silk stockings and handed them to Qin Wanyu's hands. Holding the stockings in her hand, Qin Wanyu gave Ying Kaoj a provocative smile, then opened the stockings and began to put them on. "I saw." Qin Wanyu tightened the stockings and put them on her legs, letting the smooth stockings go up her smooth, white, and plump legs, covering up everything beautiful along the way, but adding a touch of charm. Finally, Qin Wanyu raised her beautiful legs, stretched them out long, and pulled up the last part. The end of her stockings came into contact with her plump legs, causing her to twitch slightly. They were plump, but they were still beautiful, perfect. At this moment, Qin Wanyu's charm is simply overwhelming. Even Sul Yang couldn't help but look away. Click. After a crisp sound, the branch of Ying Chao Ji wearing grilled fish was cut off. At this moment, Ying Chao Ji was so angry that his teeth were itching. I just wanted to get angry at her and regain some ground, but he could actually let her seize the opportunity to seduce her husband again? Qin Wanyu, you, an old woman, have so many tricks. Hey, I'm so angry. I'm so angry that I want to kill her 9 tribes first, okay. After eating and drinking, Sul Yang and the girls all lay on the beach and basked in the sun, enjoying the rare moment of relaxation after such tension. Just as the sun is setting in the west and the weather is cooling down, Qin Benjao suddenly jumped up and said excitedly, "Oh, rest is so boring, why don't we each dance?" After hearing this, everyone was stunned, looked at each other, and nodded. Dancing can liven up the atmosphere without making you too tired. It is just right as a relaxing activity after stress. Then, after deciding to dance, the girls stood up one after another and began to discuss the order of everyone's performance and their respective styles of dancing. Looking at this scene, Sul Yang looked a little weird. This is so family dance conference. So in the end, do you have to give your own score? Farewell, we are all our own women, if we give a low score to anyone, we shall not be beaten. Qin Benjao walked in front of everyone, and as Qin Wanyu's piano music played, Qin Benjao gave her boyfriend a shy look and started dancing. The music is melodious and the dance is graceful. Qin Benjao's dance is quite subtle and introverted, but it fits her pure, holy, beautiful, and a little cold image, just like a fairy dancing solo under the moon, which is intoxicating. For a moment, it seemed that the entire beach was filled with this cold and holy feeling. But at the end of the dance, Qin Benjao suddenly approached Sul Yang, leaned gently in Sul Yang's arms, and gave her a kiss with strands of indelible affection in her eyes. This kiss was extremely sweet and intoxicating. But even these actions, which are like devotion, still do not destroy the overall beauty of her dance. Instead, she interprets the ignorant but passionate feeling of a young girl meeting her beloved when she meets her beloved. At this moment, Tan Qinjia, Wan Qing, and others were all intoxicated. And this time, Qin Benjiao turned her head and gave the girls a provocative look, the meaning of which was self-evident. I dare to take advantage of my men in the dance, do you dare? Moment. With just one look, Qin Benjiao aroused the desire to fight among the girls. Hey, just a little girl, how dare you provoke us? Do you really think we dare not do this? It doesn't matter if you are the royal palace, Humph, you finally have an opportunity to take advantage of my man in an open and honest manner. You, the royal palace, should watch carefully how we take advantage of my man in front of you. And this scene happened to fall in Suliang's eyes, making Suliang couldn't help but take a breath of air. My girlfriend, what's going on today? She's going crazy, why is she constantly giving me assists? From the first suggestion to come and play on the beach, to water fights, barbecues, and dance suggestions, it was so provocative. This is completely crazy to help Mr. Lang get benefits. Not only do you post it yourself, but also let others join in? Should I say it or not? My girlfriend's behavior. It's really cool. After Qin Benjiao retreated, Tan Qinjia stood up and said, I'll do it. Immediately. As the piano music played, Tan Qinjia danced a solo. Tan Qinjia's dancing posture, just like herself, is full of charm in every move. This charm seems to be able to touch the soul, making people unable to help but be fascinated, blushing and heart-beating. And it's coming to the end. Tan Qinjia also approached Suliang, but instead of doing what her apprentice did, she lifted her man's chin with her fingers, stuck out her sweet tongue, and gently licked her man's lips. And this strange feeling made Suliang, who had already eaten delicacies from all over the world, find it difficult to restrain himself. To be honest, if you eat a lot of meat and fish every day, and occasionally taste this hazy feeling, in front of other women, it will be so good, okay. After Tan Qinjia finished her dance, kissed Suliang lightly on the lips, and sat next to Suliang, Wan Qing stood up consciously, gave Qin Wanyu a look, and started dancing. Moment. Along with Wan Qing's dance, her dual touch of being a cold and arrogant angel and tempting a devil is vividly displayed. Approaching Suliang and lying in Suliang's arms, Wan Qing caressed Suliang's face with one hand, a pitiful look on his face, a holy and passionate expression, while the other hand went all the way down. This moment, Wan Qing's feeling of an angel falling into the mortal world and merging with the devil, appearing holy but hiding charm, stimulated Suliang's nerves, and Suliang almost couldn't help but lower his head and become a master and rebel. And when Wan Qing left, Ying Chao Ji appeared right after. As Ying Kaoj dances, the tool on her body swings, revealing the beautiful scenery hidden underneath, which makes people dizzy. Ying Chao Ji's dance posture was quite elegant and majestic like an emperor. However, when she was dancing, she would get in front of Suliang from time to time, either squeezing her proudly or offering incense. Lip. Moment. This imperial dance has changed a bit. It was as if the empress of a country, who was so high above others, was humbled by one person, and she was willing to do anything for him. Just like the empress of a country, and her face of pure love? No, 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 absolutely not. It seems more appropriate to be called the pet queen and her owner, right? My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Wo Meng. Chapter 275. Anyway. After the dance, Suliang took advantage of everything. Ying Kaoj seemed to be succumbing to Suliang's arms. He looked like a majestic king who was willing to take advantage of him, which was extremely touching. Cut. Qin Wanyu looked at Yang Kao's performance, snorted, and then stepped forward. She handed the piano to her favorite king, and immediately, following the king's piano music, Qin Wanyu gently soothed her body and danced all over the city. Although Qin Wanyu's dance is not as soul-touching as Tan Qin's, it is extremely gentle and charming. She looks like a witch who has brought disaster to the country and people, performing a song for her beloved king. Dance room. Qin Wanyu made wine with water in her mouth. She came close to Suliang and snuggled into Suliang's arms. She lightly traced her fingers across Suliang's body. Then, she raised her head and leaned in front of Suliang. She kissed her affectionately and drank the wine. A thread enters the throat. Even though this is just clear water, at this moment, it has an intoxicating feeling. To others, this kind of scene is just beautiful and warm, but Suliang, Qin Wanyu, and even Yang Kaoj actually understand its meaning. This moment is just like that time in the previous life. After all the girls finished dancing, they gathered together in front of Suliang and looked at Suliang expectantly. "Suliang, Mr. Lang, who do you think is the best dancer among us?" Looking at the girls in front of him who were all looking forward to it, Suliang fell into deep thought. Well, it's really a question of who dances better. How should I answer so that my death is not so miserable? After returning to Shengjing, the first thing Qin Wanyu did was to find a reliable craftsman, borrow the holy relic Lei Zhang from Suliang, and make a copy of the holy relic after the appearance and posture of Lei Kang. Product comes out. Certainly. This is not because Qin Wanyu wants to collect it for herself. After all, this time she went to Wuxiang Gorge. In addition to looking for things that could relieve her men of the fatal crisis, she was also responsible for Dong Jun's mission. Now, Qin Wanyu has returned from Wuxiang Gorge. Whether she got it or not, there must be an explanation. But if he got it, Lei Zhang now belongs to his man. How could Qin Wanyu steal his man's things? After getting along with Suliang until now, in Qin Wanyu's heart, her own man is the most important. Any Dong Jun has to step aside. But if you just say you didn't get it? What if Dong Jun doubts his ability and wants to recall him? It's better to just get a copy and hand it over. Even if it turns out to be fake, Dong Jun, your information is wrong. Anyway, Qin Wanyu brought the stuff back. What can you do to me? Volume 1 Chapter 251, The Scheming Queen Mother Holding Her Thigh. Putting the copied holy object Lei Zhang in the box, Qin Wanyu returned the original to Suliang, and happily carried the copied holy object back to her bedroom. After driving everyone out of the palace, Qin Wanyu took the initiative to contact Dong Jun, intending to hand over the so-called replica, fake, to Dong Jun. As the phantom slowly appeared, Qin Wanyu gathered her mood and began to show off her strongest acting skills. Reporting to Dong Jun, Wanyu lived up to her fate and brought the sacred object back. Oh! Dong Jun raised his eyebrows and asked, "What is that holy object?" "A sword named Reizo." Qin Wanyu knew that Dong Jun was spying on her, so she said without hesitation, "The holy sword Lei Zhang is naturally capable of restraining evil creatures from the abyss. It is very powerful." When Wanyu took the sword, she was almost injured by the sword. Hearing this, Dong Jun nodded quietly, but he was quite excited in his heart. Right? The sacred object that Qin Wanyu retrieved matched up with the information she knew. It seemed that Qin Wanyu had really retrieved the sacred object. Then, Dong Jun said calmly, "Show it to me." Although his voice was calm, his secretly poking and clenching fingers revealed his inner excitement and nervousness. "Yes." Qin Wanyu said, then picked up the sword box on the side, opened it, and placed it in front of Dong Jun. Moment. The blade of a sword was embroidered with thunder patterns, and the whole body was exuding golden thunder, and a holy aura to exorcise evil spirits was revealed. If you have never seen a real Reizo, you might actually recognize this Reizo as real. This is all because, in order to create a more realistic effect, Qin Wanyu asks Suliang to elicit a trace of Reizo's power and wrap it around the replica. Certainly. With this power, just like a person's true essence, Reizo can recover on its own in an instant without causing any damage, and the aura on this sword will dissipate on its own in a short time. The moment he saw this replica, Dong Jun Shuiying's face showed a look of uncontrollable joy. Okay, you did a good job. Dong Jun said with a face, he couldn't help but stretched out his hand, wanting to touch the replica. However, at this time, Dong Jun discovered something was wrong. The breath on this sword. Why do I feel that the follow-up is a little weak, as if it was continued later? Before Dong Jun could think about this problem clearly, the golden thunder on the sword disappeared in an instant. This moment, Dong Jun's hand froze in mid-air, and the atmosphere in the entire palace was somewhat frozen. Why, how could this happen? Qin Wanyu looked shocked and unbelievable. When I took it away, I clearly felt that the holy thunder inside was still very strong. How could something with such an aura be fake? What else could be going on? Dong Jun's voice almost came out from between his teeth. You were deceived and brought back a fake. The feeling of finally getting the sacred object that he yearned for, only to find that the sacred object was fake, almost made Dong Jun crazy. You must know that every sacred object is an extremely powerful treasure that can be encountered but cannot be found. Although each sacred object has different functions and focuses, and it is difficult to compare them together, there is no doubt that each sacred object is a leader in their respective fields. Even Shangzhou may not have many of these extremely powerful things. Every time you get one, it will be a great improvement to your sect and personal strength. But the holy object in front of me turned out to be fake. How could it be fake? It's impossible. Wanyu confirmed it many times at that time and it was all true. Qin Wanyu pretended to look aggrieved and confused. Please tell me, Dong Jun, what the disciple brought back is really genuine. You idiot. Dong Jun couldn't help but reprimanded, with your eyesight, how can you tell whether this thing is real or fake? If you think it is real, then it is really real. Do you know that even if it is a fake, it can be placed there and pretend to be a real holy object? This thing is also carefully crafted. It is impossible for ordinary people to tell the authenticity from the fake. Oh, Qin Wanyu, I have provided you with information and all kinds of help, and I have never refused you. I just asked you to retrieve one thing, and you can actually screw it up. Please Dong Jun, please spare me this time. Qin Wanyu shouted quite miserably, with a pitiful and helpless look. Wanyu knows that she was wrong. Please rest assured, Dong Jun. Wanyu promised to return to Wuxiang Gorge again. This time, even if Wanyu died there, she would not be safe. We will definitely bring back the real holy objects. Say this now. It's too late. Dong Jun scolded him again, but the anger in his heart also dropped a lot. After a moment of silence, Dong Jun waved his hand. That's all. Whether we can get something like a holy object depends on destiny. Since you failed to get it back this time, we are destined not to get it. It's also my fault. I know that with your cultivation and eyesight, you can't tell whether the sacred object is true or false, and it will be difficult to obtain the sacred object, but I still send you there. Your failure this time is expected and harmless. Thank you Dong Jun Mingjian. Qin Wanyu cried and bowed, then raised her head and looked at Dong Jun. Please give Dong Jun another instruction. This time, the disciple will definitely complete Dong Jun's task perfectly, avenge the shame and prove myself. That's all. You are in Daxia, just be your queen mother and take charge of your puppet emperor. Remember, there is no room for failure in Daxia's affairs. Yes. Qin Wanyu bowed again, and then Dong Jun's shadow disappeared. After waiting for a moment, when Qin Wanyu was completely sure that Dong Jun was gone, Her pitiful and helpless look disappeared immediately. He, Dongjun is really easy to deceive. Qin Wanyu sat aside and poured a cup of tea. After drinking a little, a smile appeared on her face. Since Dongjun has taken care of it, there is no point in leaving me alone in this palace. Why not go find him, king, right? It has to be said that by creating a replica of the sacred object and pretending to be pitiful and helpless when Dongjun scolded him, Dongjun did not find any flaws. Qin Wanyu can be called the pinnacle of acting. In the residence of Suliang and Qin Benjao. This day, while Suliang, Qin Benjao and Tan Kinja were all gone, Qin Wanyu quietly walked in and went straight to Wan Qing's room. Yes, today, she came to visit Wan Qing. After so many days of getting along, Qin Wanyu could naturally see that Wan Qing, the master, held more than just the feelings between master and disciple towards his apprentice. Wan Qing's feelings of wanting her apprentice to become a rebel disciple were beyond words. But during this trip to Wuxiang Gorge, Wan Qing's power and majesty left a deep impression on her. You know, many times, even Qin Benjao, the main palace official, has to listen to Wan Qing and please Wan Qing. This is enough to show that Wan Qing has the thickest thigh in this family. If that's the case, then naturally I want to hug him. Volume 1 Chapter 252 I was finally moved. Of course, although Qin Wanyu knew that Wan Qing had very thick thighs, there were actually a lot of thighs in this family. Not to mention the main palace Qin Benjao, Qin Wanyu knew very well that following the main palace must be the right thing to do. Let's talk about Tan Kinja. She is the main palace's master. Sometimes, she can influence the main palace's opinions. Isn't this also a thigh? Thinking of this, Qin Wanyu suddenly realized why in this family, except for herself and Ying Kaoch, two people from Daxia, everyone else was a big guy. Shaking her head and throwing away all the inexplicable thoughts in her heart, Qin Wanyu knocked on the door and walked into Wan Qing's room. In short, she came here this time just to make friends with Wan Qing and pay homage to Shantu. If Wan Qing is really the thickest thigh in his imagination, wouldn't he make a lot of money from his act of friendship? To put it bluntly, even if Wan Qing is not, it would be a good thing for him to have one more ally who cares about him. Oh, it's Wanyu. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 276. Wan Qing was sitting in the room, looked up and saw Qin Wanyu, and greeted her softly, "Find a place to sit by yourself." Immediately. Then he closed his eyes and said no more words. Hey. Qin Wanyu laughed dryly, walked to Wan Qing, poured a cup of tea for Wan Qing, and handed it to Wan Qing, "Master." Before she finished speaking, Wan Qing opened her eyes and glanced at her. Moment. The rest of Qin Wanyu's words were swallowed by her and she could no longer say them out. God knows how much pressure Wan Qing's look put on her. Rolling her eyes, Qin Wanyu immediately changed her words and said, "Sister Wan Qing." Wan Qing nodded, quite satisfied with this title. "Why did you come to me?" Sister Wan Qing is joking. I'm fine. Can't I find Sister Wan Qing? Qin Wanyu smiled softly, stood up, came behind Wan Qing, put a pair of soft little hands on Wan Qing's shoulders, and gently kneaded her. Speaking of which, Sister Wan Qing must be the best in this family. Yes, I see that Sister Kinja, Benjao, and even your husband are very obedient to your words. It's okay. Wan Qing said casually, Kinja is my niece. She was brought up by me since she was a child. Benjao is Kinja's disciple. Suliang is my disciple. How could he not listen to me? Hiss. Hearing this, Qin Wanyu immediately took a breath of air. Tan Kinja turned out to be this person's niece. So, as the main palace official, Qin Binjao is Wan Qing's granddaughter? Such a high status, coupled with such a strong cultivation level. Recalling Qin Binjao, Tan Kinja, and even Suliang's respectful, well-behaved and even frightened attitude towards Wan Qing, combined with Wan Qing's words now, Qin Wanyu immediately confirmed it. Wan Qing is the unshakable thigh of the Su family. His status is indeed the highest, even Suliang, the head of the family, can suppress him. Thighs like this must be flattered. Thinking in her heart, Qin Wanyu made a decision in her heart instantly. Then, Qin Wanyu immediately knelt down in front of Wan Qing and tapped her hands back and forth on Wan Qing's thighs. The intensity was just right and she felt comfortable enough. Looking at it from my perspective, in this family, although Binjao is the main palace, Sister Wanqing is the one who takes care of everything. Compared to Binjao, in terms of status and prestige, it is Sister Wanqing who is more important. Gao Cai. In this case, Sister Wanqing is the rightful person to come to this palace. Sister, I will always be under Sister Wanqing. I just want to win the favor of my husband and Sister Wanqing. Hearing this, Wan Qing shook her head and said, after all, Binjao came earlier. No one can shake the position of the main palace. But even so, in her heart, she was very satisfied with what Qin Wanyu said, so much so that a smile appeared on the corner of her mouth, and she didn't know if she showed it on purpose. Seeing the barely concealed smile on Wan Qing's lips, Qin Wanyu smiled proudly, thinking that she had won Wan Qing's favor. Unexpectedly, Wan Qing immediately followed up and took advantage of the concubine's massage. While enjoying the massage, she actually started to gather information, speaking of which, when I was in Wuxiang Gorge before, I saw that you also had some cultivation skills. Although you are not strong, in this secular world, no one can do anything to you. And I heard from Suliang that the first time between you and him was marked by plum blossoms. In other words, although you have been the Queen Mother for many years, you have never let the old emperor touch you. In this case, how can you be willing to stay in this palace for several years, guarding Kurgui alone? Don't tell me that you need cultivation resources. There are not many cultivation resources in the entire dynasty that can help you, and it is not worth it at all. Is that so? It's a long story. Qin Wanyu sighed, as if she had regarded Wan Qing as one of her own, and seemed to have been touched by Wan Qing's saddest words. For a moment, she lost her guard and said directly, if I hadn't been instigated by someone, who would have done it, I am willing to go to the royal palace of a country and commit myself to this. For me, the Queen Mother who is a mother-in-law and a world-famous queen is really not as comfortable as being beside her husband for a moment after being here for so many years. Oh. Wan Qing raised her eyebrows, I see, so it's the person behind you who sent you into the palace to control the dynasty as the Queen Mother. Ahem. Qin Wanyu coughed lightly, I will definitely not admit this. It's good that Sister Wan Qing knows what's going on. So. Wan Qing pinched her chin and said, when you were in Wuxiang Gorge, the reason why you knew all the correct routes was because of the information given to you by the people behind you. The fake sacred object you copied from Suliang was also to deal with the person behind you. Sister Mingjian, that's exactly what happened. Qin Wanyu nodded calmly and admitted. She was focused on her man anyway, so she was not afraid of Wan Qing's misunderstanding. Unexpectedly, Wan Qing suddenly clapped her hands and said, you heard it, it's the truth. The words fell. Under Qin Wanyu's extremely shocked gaze, Suliang, Qin Binjao, Tan Kinja, and even Ying Kaoj all walked out of the darkness. There was a smile on Ying Kaoj's face. I have long guessed that the queen came to my country with a purpose, but there was no evidence. I didn't expect that the queen would admit it herself. Logically speaking, I should drive the queen away, but since the queen is devoted to my husband and has never done anything to harm my Daxia, I can forget about it. Listening to Ying Kao's words, Qin Wanyu was completely confused at this moment. She really didn't expect that she would be deceived and teased like this when she came to worship the mountain because of her cleverness. You know, she used to play tricks on others like this. First time. Qin Wanyu realized the dangers of the human heart and felt the feeling of being deceived. Woo, Sister Wanking, I was finally moved for once, and you actually made me lose so completely, Zhou. How on earth could you do this, enjoying my service, gathering information about me, and betraying me at the same time? Sure enough, at such a young age, I still cannot play with an old woman who has lived for thousands of years. Feeling the strange looks from everyone, especially Wan Qing, who looked at her with a half smile but not a smile, Qin Wanyu finally couldn't stand it anymore. With a whoosh, Qin Wanyu stood up, threw herself into the arms of her king, hugged him and cried, "Husband, woo woo woo." Sister Wan Qing bullied others, they all regard her as one of their own, they have already treated her. I told her my secret, but she turned around and sold it out. Also, Sister Benjeo, Sister Kinja, and Kaoj all bullied me together and all looked at my jokes. Wow, oh, how embarrassing. As she spoke, Qin Wanyu's tone was very resentful, as if everyone in the world was bullying her. I didn't even realize that one of Suliang's people was hiding in the dark and eavesdropping. Holding Qin Wanyu in his arms, Suliang couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth, feeling extremely speechless. Say nothing. Snapped. Suliang slapped Qin Wanyu on the plump and upright area behind him, and lectured, "You still blame others for selling you, but you don't think about it yourself, what are you here for?" Well. Qin Wanyu groaned and buried her little head in Suliang's arms. She was too shy to speak or look up. It's so embarrassing to be lectured by the king in front of all my sisters. But her appearance does not mean that Suliang will let her go. Snapped. Suliang slapped Qin Wanyu's plump and erect figure behind him again, and continued to scold and lecture mercilessly, "We are all a family, and your status is inherently equal. Where do you come from so many, who is bigger, no matter how small it is, you actually dare to come and pay homage to the mountain? Why, are you playing tricks on me?" Well. Qin Wanyu groaned again, raised her head, her cheeks were flushed, and her eyes were shining with moisture. "Husband, I know I was wrong, please let me go." Woo-hoo-hoo, I finally wanted to hug my thigh once, but I didn't expect that not only was my identity betrayed by others, but I was also punished by the king. What a loss, okay. Yefei, my husband failed to enter the palace today. What do you think we should do? Ying Kaoj sat in front of Yefei and said with some distress, "Benjeo, Sister Kinja, and Sister Wanking are all in the mansion. There is no way I can call Mr. Lang to the palace." Yefei blinked, feeling a little depressed. "Why don't you, Your Majesty, just go directly to the mansion after you finish handling the political affairs?" Hearing this, Ying Kaoj felt his eyes light up and jumped up immediately. "What a great idea, I'll go right away." The second day. "Yefei, help me. I went there yesterday and didn't even say a few words to Mr. Lang. What should I do?" Ying Kaoj lay on the table and said feebly, "If I can't replenish Longju's energy, I won't have the time to deal with government affairs. How about Your Majesty let the Imperial Army clear the way, act like something big has happened, and invite Mr. Su." Yefei's mentality became even worse. "Your Majesty's actions are tantamount to announcing to the people of Shengjing that Mr. Su will be invited to attack and solve major problems. I think the princess and the others will give Your Majesty some face, right?" "Good idea." Ying Kaoj's eyes lit up again and he immediately jumped up to make arrangements. The third day. "Yefei, my Yefei, only you can help me." Ying Kaoj took Yefei's hand and didn't even care about calling herself. "Yesterday, my husband only stayed with me for half an hour, and then he was called away. He didn't have time to do anything. What should I do?" Your Majesty. Ye Fei responded to Ying Kao's words, feeling very melancholy. These past few days have been incredible. Because the competitors were too strong and the competition for Suliang was too fierce, my best friend, the Empress, came to me every day to ask me what to do. Are you asking for advice? You are abusing a dog in disguise. Those of you who are in love, can you consider how I feel as a single person? Do you know that I feel heartache every day when I hear your words about me and me? To be honest, who can stand being fed dog food like this every day? After giving His Majesty an idea to bring Suliang into the palace, Ye Fei waited for Ying Kao to leave the palace, then found a place to sit down by himself, looking as if he had no love in his life. And this time, Suliang walked in from the outside and saw Ye Fei, who was in a depressed mood. He was stunned for a moment, walked forward and asked with concern, Ye Fei? What's wrong? Ye Fei was stunned and raised his head to look at Suliang, as if wondering why Suliang came so quickly. But soon, Ye Fei's heart began to beat rapidly. Mr. Su could actually tell that I was feeling depressed, and he even came to care about me. Well, it's been a long time since I've been cared for like this by anyone. Even His Majesty only cares about making me heartbroken every day, but never cares about me. So happy. Mr. Su is so gentle. No wonder so many outstanding women like him. A moment. In Ye Fei's heart, she has a favorable impression of Suliang, who cares about her. It's almost full. Okay. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Wo Meng. Chapter 277. I'm fine. Ye Fei quickly straightened up, lowered her head slightly, pouted, and shook her head with a flushed face. Don't hide anything. If you are embarrassed to tell Kaoch, you can tell me. Suliang smiled and patted Ye Fei's head out of habit. Even if I can't solve your problem, at least I can help you think of a solution, right? Well. Ye Fei nodded subconsciously, and her favorability towards Suliang increased a lot again. And just then, Suliang was in a trance and saw that the black silk wrapped around Ye Fei's legs had been scratched a little, revealing the fair and smooth jade-white skin. Be reasonable. Such battle-damaged black stockings are indeed beautiful. Suliang said that he likes to see them, but after all, this is not his wife. Moreover, as a female general, it is inconvenient to go out wearing such stockings, and it will also make others laugh. Then, Suliang took out a piece of black silk and handed it to Ye Fei. I think your stockings seem to be scratched. Here, I'll give you a new one. If there is any damage in the future and you want to replace it, you can come and find it at Will I Want. Volume 1 Chapter 253 Fairy Inflation, Trying to Bully the Master? Well. Ye Fei was silent for a moment, then nodded. Then. But she suddenly stood up, lifted up the skirt that covered her lower body, and put her hands on her waist. Next. In front of Suliang, Ye Fei grasped the edge of the silk stockings on her body, not caring at all about the scenery wrapped under the stockings. All the way down, the long boots faded, the jade legs were lifted, and the jade feet were lightly hooked. Quickly, he took off a pair of stockings. Immediately, Ye Fei put the stockings, still warm and fragrant, with her own body temperature and fragrance, into Suliang's hands, and said, "Give it to me, give it to you." Looking at the damaged black silk in his hand and feeling the warmth on the black silk, Suliang was stunned. "I give you a new pair, and you take off the old one on the spot and give it to me? What a confusing operation this is." Before Suliang could put away the stockings in his hands, Ye Fei had already woken up and understood what he had just done. I actually took off my stockings in front of Mr. Su and gave them to him. What did I do just now? Yeah, so shy. Ye Fei's pink cheeks turned red instantly, mosquito coils began to appear in her beautiful eyes, and she looked dizzy, with steam coming out of her head. Night steam Princess Fei. Without saying a word, Ye Fei didn't even have time to get her stockings back, so she ran out on the spot, her steps very fast. Suliang was the only one left in the room, holding the still warm stockings in his hand, lost in thought. Ye Fei, who ran out of the palace, just ran into Ying Kaoj, who was returning. Ye Fei. Seeing his best friend walking in a hurry and her cheeks flushed, Ying Kaoj immediately noticed something strange about his best friend. He quickly helped his best friend up and asked with concern, "What's wrong with you?" "No, it's nothing." "Why is your majesty back so soon?" Ye Fei stammered, facing Ying Kaoj. She felt guilty at this moment. After all, just now, I accidentally took off my stockings and gave them to His Majesty's man. Thinking about my state at that time, it wouldn't be strange if I kissed Mr. Su the next second, right? Woo, what happened to me? Why did I almost feel sorry for your majesty? Just after Suliang entered the palace, Qin Benjio came to her master's room, kicked open her master's door arrogantly, and then sat next to her master, looking like a sword and a golden horse. "Come on, sister master, give me sister, serve tea." While speaking, Qin Benjio banged the table, making it clear that she wanted to bully her master. But in fact, she really wanted to bully the master. "I, Qin Benjio, am going to bully my master and destroy my ancestors." In the past, master relied on his status as an immortal, so he always bullied himself, suppressed him, and even stole his man. He was obviously the real one, but master still wanted to act like an elder in front of him. It's not obvious that this is bullying. But now, those painful past will be gone forever. Because, I, Qin Benjio, am also in the immortal state. In the past, master bullied me based on my cultivation level in the immortality realm. Now, I can bully master based on my cultivation in the immortality realm. Are you crazy? However, Tan Kinja was not used to her apprentice who bullied his master and destroyed his ancestors. She looked at her apprentice with a puzzled look and spoke mercilessly. "Humph, master, now is not the time before when you could bully me casually." Qin Benjio hummed softly, stood up, walked to the master with her hands behind her back, patted the master on the shoulder, and said in a show-off manner, "Master, your disciple and I are now in the realm of immortality. This in terms of cultivation, compared with master, the gap is really gradually shortening. Now, I am not afraid of master at all." "Oh, is that true?" Tan Kinja raised her eyebrows. "You are really a good disciple of master. You are only in the realm of immortality, and you dare to threaten master. If master insists on bullying you, what should you do?" "Then master, let's try it." Qin Benjio clenched her fists with both hands and said, "Now, if I fight master, even if I can't defeat master, it is impossible for master to defeat me, right? So, master, you should honestly call me sister. In this case, you can avoid the embarrassment of not being able to defeat your apprentice." Seeing Qin Benjio's appearance, Tan Kinja became really interested. This stupid disciple of mine has just achieved a little bit, and yet he is so swollen. Seeing her like this, it seems that master has the intention to give it a try. Anyway, since she wants to give it a try, then master should give it a try with her. It's time for her to understand what makes master the master. After all. Now, my strength has been improved a long time ago, but I have always been hiding it. Even when I went to Wuxiang Gorge before, I never showed my true strength. Thinking in her mind, Tan Kinja immediately showed a provocative smile. "As a teacher, I really want to try. How does it feel to be unable to beat a disciple?" While talking, Tan Kinja stood up, approached Qin Benjio, and kept provoking her with words, just waiting for her traitor to break out. "Yao, look at you, your cultivation is not as good as that of a teacher, your maturity is not as good as that of a teacher, and your prestige is not as good as that of a teacher, the opponent who is not the master, and even the figure is not what Liang likes the most, and cannot compare with the master. The reason why you can occupy the position of the main palace is just because you met Liang first. Therefore, since my teacher is more suitable for this position than you, you should give up the main palace to your teacher. Impossible. Qin Benjiao immediately refused, looking angry, and her aura gradually rose. Master, Master, I want to talk to you well and not to embarrass you, but you are forcing yourself on me like this. No matter what, my disciple will do it now. Let you see how far my disciple's strength has grown. Say it. Qin Benjiao decisively attacked her master with all her strength. It's not that she wants to fight to the death with her master. If that's the case, she doesn't need her master to teach her. When the time comes, her husband will definitely ignore her again. The reason why Qin Benjiao went all out was because he wanted to win the master quickly. And see this. Tan Qingjia's eyes shone, and there was a hint of excitement on her face. This is what you've been waiting for. Then, Tan Qingjia also took action at the same time and met her apprentice. Just a moment. Tan Qingjia, whose cultivation strength had improved again, completely suppressed Qin Benjiao. This is impossible. Volume 1 #Picture 254 The Shivering Fairy, the immortal version of Monopoly. Qin Benjiao was pressed on the bed by Tan Qingjia, but her legs and hands were still struggling, looking in disbelief. How could the master be so strong? I have already reached the immortal realm. How could it be possible that I am not still the master's opponent? Ah, I understand, you are not the master, you are the master pretended to be by Sister Wan Qing, right? Pretend to be a ghost. Tan Qingjia finally couldn't help it anymore and scolded her apprentice. You can only make progress, but you can't let my master break through, right? Humph, you are such a rebellious disciple, you actually dare to deceive your master and destroy your ancestors. Let's see how my master will teach you today. Say it. Snapped. Tan Qingjia slapped Qin Benjiao on the small and erect area behind her, and lectured, let's see if you dare to deceive your master and destroy your ancestors. Immediately afterwards. Snapped. Another loud and clear slap, let's see if you still dare to let me call you sister. Just dare. Qin Benjiao was not happy now. The head can be cut off and the blood can be shed, but sister can't be thrown away. Hearing this, Tan Qingjia's raised palms immediately paused, and she became angry at her disciple's words. Okay, 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 let your sister not lose it. Tan Qingjia laughed angrily and laughed coldly, let's see how I will punish you, a rebellious disciple. Master, what do you want to do? Looking at the master with a healthy smile on his face, he found a rope from nowhere and took it in his hand, and kept approaching her. Qin Benjiao said that she was a little panicked. Of course, take care of my good apprentice. Tan Qingjia tilted her head and smiled, and then she tied up her good apprentice, gagged her mouth, and stuffed her into a corner where no one could see or find him. Aha, aha. Qin Benjiao kept struggling, staring at her master with cute eyes. While trying to get rid of her master's shackles, she muttered something that no one could understand. Okay, just watch here obediently and watch the good show that master puts on for you. After patting his apprentice, Tan Qingjia found something and completely blocked the place, leaving only his apprentice's eyes. Then, he turned and left the room. After a while, just when Qin Benjiao was thinking about what her master was going to do, Tan Qingjia came back again. And following Tan Qingjia back, there was Su Liang. The moment she saw Su Liang appear, Qin Benjiao seemed to vaguely understand what her master was going to do. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Wo Meng. Chapter 278. Stop it, Master, you are going too far. I am your disciple, and I am still Su Liang's official palace. Master, You can't do this to me. Master, let me go quickly, let me go quickly, master, I will bite you to death. Woo, master, don't want it, I know it's wrong, master. Don't be too dissatisfied, master. Under Qin Benjao's tearful gaze, Tan Kinja pulled Suliang to sit on the bed, and then kissed her deeply, and began to get closer to Suliang. After a moment, their lips parted, and Tan Kinja lay in Suliang's arms, looking charming. Yang, it's been a long time since you and I have reconciled yin and yang. Is it because you have had more women recently, so you don't like your sister competing like this? Are you older? How is that possible, sister? You should know how I feel about you. Suliang quickly hugged his sister and comforted him softly, without realizing at all that his sister's appearance was just for his girlfriend. Humph, you still said no. Tan Kinja was reluctant, turned her head, deliberately not looking at Suliang, and said aggrievedly, I see, you just don't like sister anymore, otherwise, since I came back, you have been with Yao auntie, you have even accompanied the two in the palace, but you have never accompanied my sister. I don't care, my sister is unhappy. Sister, it's really a misunderstanding. Suliang quickly stepped forward and hugged his sister. He was really confused about what his sister said. Thinking about it carefully, Suliang felt that although he was indeed a little busy, it was not as if he had not spent time with his sister. Especially when my sister just came back from Wuxiang Gorge with me and others, my sister really occupied me in every way, and she had a lot of water in and out every day, okay. He never thought that his sister talked to him like this just to stimulate his girlfriend. Giving Qin Benjao, who was thrust into the dark, a provocative look, Tan Kinja turned her head and pouted, looking aggrieved, since you say no, then prove it to me. How can you prove this kind of thing? Suliang scratched his head, feeling a little confused. Just, this will be fine. Tan Kinja smiled seductively, and then suddenly made a move, pushing Suliang down, and then the whole person was pressed up. Immediately afterwards, clothes were flying, and the bed creaked in the room. Tucked into a hidden corner, Qin Benjao watched all this helplessly, almost crying. Especially, Qin Benjao burst into tears when her master was galloping on her boyfriend and asked her man to say that his master was better than her. How does it feel to watch your boyfriend become someone else's and be ridden by someone else? It's very aggrieved, isn't it? Sulang, look at me, I am Benjao, I am your favorite girlfriend, I am right here. Why did you refuse to look at me, master, even when you were tasting it? Woohoo, cute, not worth a penny in front of sexy, right Sulang? Master, we are. Standing in front of Wanqing, looking at the messy things on the table in front of him, and then looking at his girlfriend, sister, Kaoch, Wanyu, and Suliang who were all present, Suliang was a little confused. Didn't you say that you have never been able to advance to the immortal realm? Wanqing leaned on the back of the chair, crossed her legs, put her hands on her legs, and just touched the things on the table with her chin. This is the special training given to you by the master. Special training. Suliang blinked, walked to the table, looked at the messy things on the table, and became even more confused. What kind of special training is this? Without directly answering Suliang's words, Wanqing said, the reason why you are unable to advance to the immortal realm is that, in the final analysis, you advanced too quickly. Indeed, you have extraordinary talents and extraordinary luck. You are promoted quickly and have a good foundation. But because of this, your shortcomings are also extremely obvious, which can restrict your progress. What you, who are breastfeeding, lack is further control, and this thing was developed for me and specially prepared to exercise your control in a short period of time. At this moment, Qin Benjao, who was watching the show and eating melons, suddenly said, Immortality realm. Can't Sulang be promoted to the immortal realm? It's strange, he was promoted smoothly at the beginning. In the realm of immortality, it's enough to have hands. Why can't Sulang be promoted? Hearing this, Suliang's face darkened, and he didn't care what his master was saying. He immediately walked to his girlfriend, picked her up, and began to teach her a lesson. Snapped. Suliang slapped his girlfriend on the back, which was already beginning to take shape and could make a few waves. He lectured with a dark face, as long as you have a hand. Just give me a hand. Snapped. Before Qin Benjao could say anything, Suliang slapped her again. You dare to mock your man, huh? Why, you think your man is reluctant to teach you a lesson, right? Qin Benjao fluttered her calves and struggled. Mr. Lang is bullying others. Woo, Sister Wonking, save me. The master's lesson last time was not very good, okay. Now the injury is getting worse, Sulang, it hurts a lot from the beating. Otherwise, why do you think that person's area grows so quickly? It's not because the swelling hasn't subsided yet. Okay, stop making trouble. Wan Qing scolded, then stood up and arranged the things on the table. This thing is a game developed for the teacher. It's called Zhenlong Fukang. It can give you special training and many other things fun. These chess pieces are your and my representatives on the chessboard. Wan Qing pointed at the chessboard and began to introduce this relatively new game. You and I have some spirit stones in our hands at the beginning as the principal. After the game starts, we each take turns throwing the dice, and the points we throw are our actions. Number of steps. When we stop, if the area we occupy is a mansion, shop, or bank, we can buy it for our own business. If it is someone else's territory, we need to hand over the spiritual stone to that person. There are also some penalty areas. If we fall into the penalty area when we stop, we need to follow the punishment above. Listening to Wan Qing's introduction, Suliang's expression gradually became strange. This so-called Zhenlong Fukang, however it feels familiar. Isn't this Monopoly? What the hell, my master, did you create a version of Monopoly that cultivates immortality? You can. Listening to the familiar rules and looking at the familiar chessboard, although the things on it had been changed by Master Demon into things unique to this world, Suliang still felt a subtle feeling of familiarity. Really, I haven't played this game for a long time. Why do I still feel a little nostalgic? Okay, that's the general rule. Is there anything else you don't understand? Wan Qing finished explaining all the rules and looked at Suliang and others. Sister Wonking, do all of us have to participate in this? Qin Benjao, who was lying on the bed and rubbing her butt, raised her hand and asked doubtfully. Of course, this kind of game cannot be played by one person, so naturally everyone must play together. Wan Qing nodded, taking it for granted. Besides, you guys, although your cultivation levels are pretty good, do you really think that you don't need to exercise control? This game is also for your own good. That's okay. Qin Benjao hesitated for a moment and nodded. It wasn't that she didn't want to play games with her men, it was just, the punishments were so shameful. After looking at Qin Benjao, who was still a little hesitant, Wan Qing said calmly and directly released her ultimate move. Don't worry, most of the punishments here are related to Suliang, and the reward for the winner is to take Suliang away. Have him all to yourself for the day. He actually had the husband all to himself for a day? It's on fire. The moment they heard Wan Qing's words, all the girls were ignited with fighting spirit. Played. Isn't it just a game? If SI is punished for this, it should be the price of monopolizing the husband. But at this time, Suliang raised his hand weakly. Master, can this really exercise control? To be honest, he really didn't want to play this game. Look at the punishment above, taking off your clothes. This is just the lowest level, okay. It's too shameful to meow like a cat or act like a puppy. Moreover, outside the grid such as banks and shops, everything is punished. What the hell is this? Looking at his confident master, Suliang helplessly raised his forehead. How did his master come up with these arrogant punishments? He could all imagine that this game process must be full of sexy moves. Of course. If you want to win and get the points you want, you must have very strong control. Wan Qing nodded and strangled Suliang's last struggle. After removing all the things in front of her, Wan Qing spread a comfortable and thick blanket on the ground, which was enough to accommodate everyone. Then she said to everyone, "Okay, let's get started. I come first, I come first." Qin Benjiao volunteered to try this novel game, so she was the first one to grab the dice and throw it out. Immediately afterwards. Huh? 8 o'clock in total? Can we rent out the cave paradise? Qin Benjiao looked at the reward she had received, and happily handed the card representing the spirit stone to Wan Qing. "Sister Wan Qing, in this case, does this paradise belong to me?" "Yes." Wan Qing nodded, expressionless. The others had the same expression as Wan Qing. And Suliang was almost going crazy. "Where did my girlfriend come from? She actually got the cheapest and best house in the first place?" "OU eats the spear, okay. There is an OU emperor in this kind of luck game, how can you win? I'll do the second one." Tan Kinja took a deep breath, took 2 dice from her apprentice's hands, threw them out, and then her face darkened. 6 o'clock, punishment, take off clothes. Tan Kinja was about to collapse. Why did she take off her clothes when her apprentice got the good stuff first? However, Tan Kinja was not someone who couldn't afford to play. She raised her head and looked at her aunt. Tan Kinja asked, "Should you take off everything, or just one piece?" "Just take off one piece." Wan Qing said calmly, "After all, you may have walked to this place more than once and received this punishment." Tan Kinja's face darkened even more when she heard about the case. What does my aunt mean by her words? Are you cursing yourself to take off more clothes? Volume 1 Chapter 255 The Queen Mother's shame and anger suddenly gained a group of pets. "Auntie, you have such a cruel heart." Without saying anything, Tan Kinja stretched out her beautiful legs and took off one of her stockings. "One stocking is not enough, 2 stockings are one." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 279. Wan Qing suddenly reminded him. "Call." Tan Kinja took a deep breath and said, "Okay, just 2 pieces." Immediately. Tan Kinja actually put her beautiful legs directly into Suliang's arms. Then, she took off her stockings to the crook of her legs, but stopped acting. Instead, she looked at Suliang with a charming look. "Ah Yang, why don't you help me take it off?" The words fell. Tan Kinja's weak, boneless feet happened to rest on Suliang's giant sword. She pressed lightly, her cute little toes slightly bent, and in an instant, she caught Suliang's vital part. Hiss. Suliang took a breath of cold air and hurriedly bent down. He muttered some random things in his heart, and then suppressed the uncontrollable thoughts that were rising in his heart. I'll come. Quickly agreeing to Tan Kinja, Suliang held his sister's small jade feet with both hands, grabbed the edge of the stockings, and gently pulled the stockings, as if they were sliding over the smooth jade, and the whole stockings were pulled off by Suliang. Taking her black silk stocking from her man's hand, Tan Kinja stepped forward and kissed her man's lips gently. Then, she gave her aunt a provocative look. "Come on, let's continue." Call. Wan Qing took a deep breath, silently said to herself not to be angry, and then continued to play the game. Soon, when it was Qin Binjao's turn again, Qin Binjao threw the dice and shouted happily, "It's a money bank. Sister Wan Qing, can I buy this too?" After hearing this, everyone present went numb. Another good one? Qin Binjao's luck is simply incredible. Oh Yu Huang, get out of here. The game has started for several rounds, and by this time, even Qin Binjao, the European emperor, has already taken several punishment measures. But, looking at the various extremely irritating punishment measures that filled the chessboard, Suliang was amazed. He felt that everyone was a bit lucky today. So far, no one has been able to draw these extremely irritating punishments. Should I say it or not, Suliang planned to enjoy it at first, but now no one is smoking at all, which makes it very stiff. And just when Suliang was feeling regretful. Oops! Qin Wanyu screamed in surprise, looking at the position where her chess piece had reached, full of disbelief. Hearing Qin Wanyu's voice and looking at Qin Wanyu's shy face, Suliang became interested and quickly reached over to check. He saw the grid representing punishment at a glance. Playing the role of a loyal dog? Suliang raised his eyebrows and looked at Qin Wanyu with amusement. "Wanyu, you have been punished, but you must do it, otherwise, the game will be meaningless, right?" "I don't want it." Qin Wanyu shook her head repeatedly, resisting the punishment of playing the role of a loyal dog. If she only did this kind of thing with her own king, it would be quite good, and it could be regarded as a kind of boudoir fun. But, it would be shameful to do it in front of everyone. However, faced with Qin Wanyu's rejection, Tan Qinja sat next to Qin Wanyu, put a hand on Qin Wanyu's shoulder, and squeezed it gently. "Wanyu, I am willing to admit defeat. This is the rule of this game. Ah, I have done all the shameful punishments before, so what reason do you have to refuse?" As she spoke, Tan Qinja had a healthy smile on her face, and her eyes revealed a dangerous light. With this attitude, if Qin Wanyu refused, Tan Qinja would probably take action herself. Alas! Tan Qinja looked like this, and Qin Wanyu immediately screamed like a small animal, and immediately became scared. It's okay not to be cowardly, Tan Qinja is too scary now. Then, under Tan Qinja's friendly persuasion, Qin Wanyu finally nodded aggrievedly and agreed, "I'll do it, I'll do it." "Say it." Qin Wanyu turned to look at Suliang. Since she wanted to play the role of a loyal dog and act coquettishly, she naturally had to play it to her own king. How can other people deserve to be like this? But before Qin Wanyu could take action, Tan Qinja suddenly laughed out loud. She found a dog-ear suit from somewhere and placed it in front of Qin Wanyu. "Here, this is what Yao and I bought before. It's arrived but hasn't been used yet. Since you happen to get this punishment, I'll give it to you." Turning to look at the dog-eared suit that Tan Qinja placed next to her, Qin Wanyu swallowed hard, feeling very conflicted. If this suit only has ears and gloves, Qin Wanyu would not be unable to accept it, but why does it still have a tail in it? Especially the ball-shaped thing at the top of the tail, Qin Wanyu could tell at a glance how this thing was used, right? "Okay, can you not use it?" Qin Wanyu laughed dryly and expressed that she didn't want to use this thing. But Tan Qinja shook her head firmly. "See this?" Qin Wanyu was immediately discouraged. What could be done? After all, she came later than her, and her vixen level was much higher than hers. She couldn't beat her, so she had to give in. Then, Qin Wanyu had no choice but to pick up the dog-ear suit and began to put it on. Soon, there was only a tail left in her hand. Looking at the tail in his hand, he thought about it and suddenly showed a soft smile. He handed the tail to Suliang and said in a charming voice, "Husband, why don't you wear this for others?" Holding the tail in his hand, Suliang blinked in confusion. "Are you sure?" Of course Suliang knew where this thing was worn, but, again, if he and Wanyu were playing with it, he would just wear it for her, but now, in front of everyone. Isn't this a bit difficult to bear? Besides, others wouldn't agree, right? Really? Yang Kaoj immediately stood up and retorted with some reluctance, "Humph, the Queen Mother really doesn't know how to be shy. It's okay to receive such a shameful punishment. She actually dared to let Lang Jun do it for her. Tisk tisk, the Queen Mother is like this. I can't stand this shameless gesture anymore." Hearing Yang Kaoj's words, Qin Wanyu didn't tolerate her at all, and immediately replied, looking at me, "Kaoj, when you say this, you are actually envious of me, right?" In one sentence, Yang Kaoj was speechless. To put it bluntly, she was indeed quite envious. After all, he is the husband's pet. How can you, the majestic Queen Mother, even steal this from others? It's too much. Just like Tan Kinja was eaten to death by Wan Qing, and Qin Wanyu was very afraid of Tan Kinja, in fact, Yang Kaoj couldn't beat his so-called queen, and was eaten to death by her mother every time. Listening to the quarrel between the two, Qin Benjao suddenly interjected, "If you are envious of Sister Ying, why not join together? Anyway, no one rules this game. If you don't get the punishment, you can't do it, right?" Hearing Qin Benjao's words, Yang Kaoj's heart skipped a beat, and his heart actually moved. But then, she came to her senses, glared at her sister fiercely, and hit her on the head. "You little girl, what nonsense are you talking about? You deserve a beating." Well, Qin Benjao didn't dare to reply, so she could only groan, cover her head, and look at her man aggrievedly, wanting to let her man make the decision for her. Although now as the head of the palace, theoretically his cousin should now call him sister, but Qin Benjao is just a sister after all, so under certain circumstances, she is indeed eaten to death by her sister. It can be said that unless they give in, Qin Benjao, the royal palace, cannot bully anyone except her own husband. At this time, Qin Wanyu, who had handed her tail to Suliang's hand, had turned around and was sitting on her knees in front of Suliang. The plump and straight part behind her was raised and swaying slightly, waiting for Suliang's kiss. Action. See this. Suliang swallowed hard, holding the tail in his hand, he put his hand in and fumbled slightly. Soon. Then he climbed up on the plump, upright softness and found the right position. Then, as Suliang moved, his tail grew to its proper position. Well. Qin Wanyu snorted, her pretty face turned red instantly, her eyes were as charming as silk, and she looked extremely charming. Slowly crawling around, Qin Wanyu climbed onto Suliang step by step, exhaling slightly, spitting out her fragrant tongue, gently licked Suliang's cheek, and hummed softly, coquettishly, her voice was so soft and charming. "Pole. Master, I will always be your most loyal little dog, woof woof woof." While saying extremely shameful words, Qin Wanyu imitated the barking of a puppy, and her tail waggled rapidly behind her. Looking at her appearance, this did not look like a loyal dog. This was clearly a dog that wanted to reconcile the yin and yang of its owner. Dog. But in fact, at this moment, Qin Wanyu just felt extremely ashamed. Such a posture in front of his sisters, how can he be seen by others? And Suliang, feeling the warm fragrant nephrite in his arms and looking at his queen mother's clingy and loyal attitude like a puppy, swallowed hard and felt very uncomfortable. This is too tempting. At this moment, he wanted to grab the tail behind her and gallop her horse once, and then change her to a more suitable one. After Qin Wanyu completed the punishment, the game started again soon. Soon, it was another person's turn to be punished. Wan Qing's face turned a little dark when she saw the punishment she got for meowing. Just now she secretly laughed at Qin Wanyu, who was so unlucky to play the role of a loyal dog. Now, she is going to meow like a cat. What is this? Retribution for this world? Unlike Qin Wanyu's time, this time, everyone present looked at Qin Wanyu, but no one dared to urge her. After all, as the biggest thigh in the family, everyone must hug her tightly, no one dares to offend her. But Wan Qing knows best. She is actually the one who cannot refuse. She was the one who proposed this game. If she refuses, then who will listen to her? Then. Volume 1 Chapter 256, Exchange Stockings. The sword fairy is about to arrive on the battlefield. Feeling everyone's gaze, Wan Qing gritted her teeth and said, "Okay, I'll do it." Immediately, Wan Qing lay down on all fours like Qin Wanyu, and then stretched out her waist and crawled towards Suliang like a kitten. Climbing onto Suliang's body, Wan Qing put her hands on Suliang's chest and made a kitten's posture with its legs upright. Her eyes were full of innocence and confusion, but her expression was a little charming. Meow. With a clear cat meow, Wan Qing lowered her head, came close to Suliang's cheek, stretched out her little tongue and licked it. This gesture was exactly the same as that of a kitten. Although she did not wear a cat-eared suit like Qin Wanyu at this moment, and Suliang could not put it on Wan Qing like Qin Wanyu did, Wan Qing at this moment still almost made Suliang take a breath of air. My master is too cute. Especially, feeling the soft and hot body in his arms, and the touch of being licked by his master on his face, Suliang almost couldn't hold back, turned his head and bit the little tongue and kissed her. I was almost going to be a master and a disciple. Okay. Okay, let's continue. After a while, Wan Qing got off Suliang and continued the game. Another round passed, Yang Kaoch threw the dice, and then looked at the position of his chess piece. A trace of confusion flashed in his eyes. Exchange stockings with the person on your left and wear them. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Wo Meng. Chapter 280. Moment. Yang Kaoch turned to look at Qin Benjao beside him, completely confused. Is this still a serious game? Why is there such a shameful punishment? This thing is simply more shameful than meowing like a cat and pretending to be a dog, isn't it? Think about wearing other people's clothes on your body and carrying other people's body temperature. Yang Kaoch's body trembled slightly. If that person wasn't his husband, he wouldn't be happy with this kind of punishment, okay. But it just so happens that this person is Qin Benjao. Win sister. Qin Benjao said timidly, she was completely involved by her sister. Forget it, I'm willing to admit defeat. Yang Kaoch said, decisively straightening her slender legs and taking off the black stockings from her legs. Immediately, throwing the stockings still carrying his body temperature into his sister's arms, Yang Kaoch looked at his sister intently. Well. Qin Benjao snorted, still a little unwilling in her heart, but the Queen Mother and sister Wan Qing had both done such a shameful punishment just now, so she had no reason not to do it. Then, she had no choice but to put her delicate hands on the edge of the white silk stockings, gently take off the white silk stockings, and hand them to her sister. Immediately afterwards, the two of them almost in sync, stretched out their slender legs again, picked up the other's stockings, and put them on themselves bit by bit. Moment. The black and white tones of the two people are swapped. Qin Benjao was wearing a plain white dress, but her legs were wrapped in black silk. The strong conflict between black and white, two completely different tones, added a touch of charm to Qin Benjao's pure temperament, which in turn enhanced her appearance. On the other side, Yang Kaoch was dressed in a graceful and luxurious dress embroidered with dragon patterns, and was wrapped in white silk. She was elegant, luxurious, and majestic, but it also added a touch of girlish purity to her. This novel dress of the pure girl empress can be said to have made Yang Kaoch's whole temperament completely different. She is much less majestic and has a touch of innocence, which makes her even more heartwarming. After changing the stockings, it was soon time for Operation Suliang. Looking at the women's clothing options that were only 8 boxes away from him, Suliang swallowed hard and kept praying in his heart, never choose this box. Otherwise, wouldn't he just want to achieve the achievement of women's clothing? But luckily, after Suliang rolled the dice, the 2 dice points were added up, exactly 9 o'clock, and the women's clothing option passed by. Call. Suliang breathed a sigh of relief and wiped the non-existent sweat from his forehead. It was so dangerous, I almost died. However, regarding this result, Qin Binjao and Yang Kaoj pouted in disappointment. Mr. Lang didn't even have women's clothes. I'm so disappointed. Hearing this, Suliang was completely speechless. He immediately called his girlfriend and Chao Ji and wanted to teach them a lesson. What the hell, your man doesn't have women's clothing. Am I sorry for you? You 2 girls are getting more and more courageous. You really should be taught a lesson. But then, before Suliang could teach him a lesson, Yang Kaoj and Qin Binjao looked at each other, and then Qin Binjao turned over and broke free from her man's hand. She turned around and pinned her man down. After a wave of counterattack, she began to call her sister, Sister Ying, hurry up. We finally seized this opportunity. Let's teach you a lesson quickly. Suliang. Being pinned down by his girlfriend, Suliang didn't struggle, but just looked frightened. Binjao, what are you going to do? I'm telling you, let me go quickly, or else, I'm going to be rude to you. But having said that, Suliang had no intention of struggling at all, as if he was deliberately bullying his girlfriend. Poor Qin Binjao, she can only bully Suliang. After all, she is my girlfriend. If I don't let her go or dote on her, what can I do? As the game continues to progress, seeing that the game is about to end, in order to win and successfully take away Suliang, Wan Qing, and others, they have begun to use any means. Then, on the small chessboard, various inhuman means and various behind-the-scenes operations were carried out continuously, making Suliang dazzled. In order to prevent the other party from winning the final victory, the girls are also trying to expose each other. This scene can be called a large-scale fight scene. Wan Qing held the dice in one hand, but when no one was paying attention, she injected some real energy into the dice and then threw it out. Just in time, the final points allowed her chess pieces to enter the last ownerless mansion. Okay, don't fight anymore. The final territory belongs to me. No, no. Tan Kinja hurriedly said, my aunt cheated and poured real energy into the dice so that she could drive the real energy and throw the points she wanted. So, my aunt's time doesn't count. In order to take her man away, Tan Kinja also risked her life. Even if she was beaten by her aunt later, she would still expose her aunt's cheating methods. After Tan Kinja entered the Mei body and unsealed it, although her current cultivation level was not as good as Wan Qing's, it was still a little closer to Wan Qing's. It was naturally easy to see Wan Qing's small operations. Among everyone on the field, only Tan Kinja could see Wan Qing's operation. Wan Qing actually understood this in her heart. Seeing that her little operation was caught by Tan Kinja, Wan Qing frowned slightly, but still had no intention of denying it. She made a sound and said helplessly, okay, I'll do it again. Then, Wan Qing started again. This time, the 2 dice rolled only 3 points. Not only did he not get any benefits, but he also lost a lot of money because he had to pay rent to Qin Binjao in Qin Binjao's paradise. After the night cleared, Tan Kinja immediately picked up the dice and threw it out without saying a word. The dice landed on the ground and after spinning for a moment, it soon stopped. It looked like it was 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, it happened to be the unowned house that Wan Qing wanted to get just now. See this? A slight smile appeared on Tan Kinja's face. It seems that destiny is mine this time. But the next moment, her dice spun uncontrollably again, as if it had been hit by something. Tan Kinja immediately frowned and looked at her apprentice. Benjeo, you cheated, and you actually did it to master. Tan Kinja decisively hit her apprentice's head and said very speechlessly, do you think that if you use your spiritual energy to condense into thin needles and interfere with my master's dice, my master won't be able to notice it? A little bit. Chin Benjeo stuck out her tongue, looking indifferent. Even if it is exposed, so what, since he has interfered anyway, the master will have to vote again. After a lot of hard work and a lot of twists and turns, Tan Kinja finally finished voting, but the result was not as she expected. Like her aunt, she gave her apprentice tolls. Later, when it was time for Ying Kaoch to throw, Ying Kaoch threw out, with a look of shock on his face. No matter what the situation, I had obviously crushed the dice a little and changed the weight of the dice so that it could be thrown according to my own wishes, but why did I still let my chess piece go into Qin Wanyu's cave? And just then, Tan Kinja raised her head and glanced at Qin Wanyu, take your illusion back. You can indeed deceive Kaoch, but you can't deceive me. Okay, okay. Qin Wanyu immediately started to tremble and quickly withdrew the illusion. To be honest, she really wanted to rely on her illusion skills to deceive everyone's minds, so that everyone would think they had invested in her position and paid her money every time. In this way, wouldn't he be able to win soon? But unfortunately, I was still caught. After a long time, with everyone fighting among themselves and operating behind the scenes, the game was finally over. And the result? Qin Benjeo's destiny made everyone else bankrupt and won the final victory. Looking at his proud girlfriend with her hands on her hips, Suliang took a deep breath and understood something. The European Emperor is invincible. Humph, since I won, I will take Mr. Lang away. Qin Benjeo said, and quickly picked up her husband. She looked proud, hugged her husband's arm, hummed a song, and took her husband away. Only a group of goblins were left, looking at each other in the room. My husband was taken away by Emperor Ou like this? Then why did he fight so fiercely just now? Sure enough, in the future, it's better not to let European Emperor participate in this kind of game. You can't beat European Emperor even if you cheat, and you won't have any gaming experience at all. Touching their chins, the goblins fell into deep thought. In the dark night, a beautiful figure is moving quickly in the wilderness. Her target is Daxia Shengjing. Occasionally, this beautiful figure stopped and looked in the direction of Shengjing, revealing a stunning and cold face. The hands behind her back tightened, and Qianying moved forward again, a little faster. What I do is just to cut off the long thread that controls destiny. Mortals should control their own lives. Then, the sword fairy is about to arrive on the battlefield. In the early morning, Qin Wanyu opened her eyes and looked at Suliang lying next to her, with a bright smile on her face. That battle with the immortal monopoly had already happened before. In the past few days, after Qin Wanyu's hard work, she finally got an opportunity for her king to stay overnight in her room. Your Majesty, did you get up so early? After Qin Wanyu was fully dressed, she turned around and saw that she had gotten up from the bed. So she hurriedly stepped forward, took Suliang's clothes from his hands, and with a gentle look, began to help Suliang get up and change. Qin Wanyu's actions were very gentle and meticulous. From her hair and collar to her feet, Qin Wanyu helped Suliang tidy up bit by bit so that there would be no inappropriate spots on his body. If time hadn't allowed, Qin Wanyu might have wanted to say good morning to Suliang, ahem. But right now, an extremely strong murderous intention and chill suddenly enveloped Qin Wanyu, making Qin Wanyu suddenly startled. This is, coming towards me, trying to kill me. Qin Wanyu reacted immediately and subconsciously grabbed her king's arm, Your Majesty, I. Don't be afraid. Suliang frowned. Although the murderous intention and coldness were directed at Qin Wanyu, Suliang was right next to Qin Wanyu, so he could naturally feel it. Subconsciously protecting Qin Wanyu behind him, Suliang turned to look at the beautiful figure in front of the palace door, frowned and asked, "Who is your excellency, and why did you unleash murderous intent on Wanyu?" "I saw." A stunningly beautiful figure was standing in front of the door, blocking the way in and out. The silhouette's face was stunningly beautiful, but as cold as ice. Her long sky blue hair hung down to her shoulders, adding a bit of coldness to her. It looks like this beautiful figure is like an ice beauty made of ice crystals. Looking down, Qianying has a slender figure with an almost perfect figure. Her proud peak can't be held with one hand, her flat belly without any fat, her long and beautiful legs are firm and slender, and further back, she is round and has a bit of a petite feel. It's pretty straight up.